if you see what has happened in the country over the past 5, 6 years, essentially rapid gratification of orders have become standard issue. And what I mean by that is the 15-minute delivery has now become part and parcel of how you and I consume and live our lives today. If things don't get delivered to you within the 15 minutes, people start getting agitated. LinkedIn posts, Twitter posts start up. It shows how intrinsic it's become in our lives. The piece which I'm going to sort of spend between, I think, 5 to 10 minutes on, and probably a little longer, is to explain to you or help you sort of visualize what really goes into doing this and how um, getting smarter is not something that we have, historically we've always struggled with as a supply chain industry, right? What complicates matters further is that Coalstar has picked up a particular vertical wherein we transport, store, distribute perishable goods. So every time that we actually pick up a good, store it with us or deliver it, it's a ticking time bomb, which essentially means that if I or my platform does not handle cargo with immense care, a piece of ice cream, a piece of curd, chocolate, fruit and veg starts getting spoiled. That complicates matters even further, right? Um, so the problem statement essentially for us as people who are keen lookers of supply chains, our supply chains have historically been slow. They've been inefficient and has created stockouts. And and usually this is because of three broad reasons, right? One is that wrong inventory management, which basically means either the inventory hasn't moved or the wrong quantum has moved or the right piece hasn't arrived at the right point for you and I to essentially consume it. There's been loss, there's been expiry, or there's been theft. It's been mishandled at multiple points through the entire value chain. And attempts so far to disrupt supply chains have been partially won by us, right? Let me just take you back to 2020 when the world sort of stopped. I'm not sure if some of you sort of remember, but if you go back to probably March, April of 2020, and you went back to your stores at that point of time, just before the lockdown started, stores were empty, right? There were large portions of goods that you and I consume, biscuits, ice cream, butter, bread, flour, so on and so forth, that suddenly started disappearing from store shelves that you and I were most accustomed to actually see. And that's because supply chains actually broke down as soon as there's a large disruption in the environment that we see around us. And this was a bit of a wake-up call for us because before 2020, the supply chains that we were managing were much slower, right? Disruptions like a black swan event like went through in 2020 to 2022 wasn't something that we planned for. So what we did as an organization was sort of tear up our entire tech stack and said, hey, we're not ready for a disruption like this, and let's rebuild this, right? And the vision that we actually came up with very, very clearly was that when promise to a customer, what do I promise? And after deliberating a lot, meeting all our customers, meeting people who were probably users or going to be users of our services, there was a single piece that sort of, came through in all our conversations. They all wanted a 99.9% fill rate. They wanted no loss of product and they wanted zero error in their entire supply chain. And that's something that we sort of rebuilt our organization and said, hey, if we want to be the backbone for India's consumption, I need to deliver a zero stockout solution to my clients. Now, the question really was, how are we going to do it? It was not by adding more warehousing or energy efficiency or trucking or people. It was to actually go back and say that who we really are and what do we really do, right? So if anybody explains to you that supply chain or logistics is a complicated business, at the core of it, it's a very simple business. It's about moving products from point A to point B. And if you do that repeatably, you're a great supply chain company. So what we did was we actually broke our thinking around technology into three parts. And we said, look, let's first figure out what our system of activities. What do we really do? And what we really do is moving product from the manufacturer to the consumer. And along this way, we realized that in addition to the data that we were generating, the very essence of moving this product was generating data itself. And that was something that we went back and we rebuilt and rekitted our tech stack, where we built out a system of activity. The stack actually captures every data point when I move, let's say, a piece of ice cream from the manufacturing point close to Ahmedabad to a consumer in Bangalore. And the more data we actually capture, the more we realize that in order to actually deliver a zero stockout solution, there are a number of external factors which one needs to sort of capture and action, which we then called a degree of separation, right? So let me just go back. So the zero degree essentially is the system of activity, what we do. A degree separated is a self-learning engine which we sort of built out basis of data that the system was generating basis of the product that we were moving from point A to point B. And we started adding on the external factors which lead to a product being moved efficiently or not. So I think Ashish mentioned, energy trackers, IoT devices, which we started clipping on, and the data that was generated was in turn leading to a self-learning engine which improved my efficiency not only from an internal KPI point of view, but from an external delivery point to my customer, which was zero stock out solution. So very quickly, for example, where I place my warehouse, how do I design it? How energy efficient is my cold storage? How quickly am I managing it? And am I able to measure it? And am I able to use the data to be able to get better the next time I handle this product? The next time my client actually is looking to actually build out for the ice cream season with the seasonality, am I ready for that growth? This is a self-learning engine which we started developing about 5 years back. Now, what interestingly happened is that this tied in with the newer forms of machine learning and the LLMs which we started seeing coming out. And this got us a little smarter. And we added a second degree of separation from our on our tech stack, which what we term as a system of intelligence. This is the same system that powers the design, powers planning, powers prediction, powers execution, and what we are very, very intrinsically built into our platform is the continuous learning. It's a self-learning engine which we are continuing to sort of improve. So when my client actually wants something to be moved, we actually go back and say, hey, look, I think you need to look at it this way because this is the way it's going to possibly happen. We look at historical trends, add it to, forecasting demands, marry the two. It's not perfect yet, but we're getting there very, very quickly. And that's really what we've been building out over the past 5 to 6 years. Just to summarize this in a little more sort of pleasant manner rather than degrees of separation. Think of it like the human brain, right? We sent or built out a demand sensing engine. We added a unified inventory intelligence matter. We then optimized our workflow using real-time IoT and machine learning. We increased our density. And on top of that, we've been able to build out very, very specific technology enabled pack houses, cold storages, which drive post harvest reduction in post harvest losses, which is always what we wanted to do. So, in essence, really, what AI and ML has essentially done for us from a product point of view is to give us scalability, give us adaptability, improve our energy efficiency for every product that we currently handle. So I can measure down to a single piece of ice cream, a box of dahi, a set of potatoes that we process. It gives us agility to be able to respond faster, and it gives us an ability to be self-learning. In essence, our model is a rinse, repeat, learn model, and the AI engine that we are building today allows us to do that. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much for the time, and happy to take some questions thereafter.
Thank you, Mr. Sami.